All right. Welcome, everyone. We'll get started in just a moment. Does it look like we have a quorum? All right. Seeing some nodding heads, so we can go ahead and get started. We'll start with our first agenda item, which is welcome and introductions. So, Shravanti, will you be reading the roll?
I'm Jessica.
Or Jessica? Okay.
Yep.
So Jessica, if you want to go ahead and read the roll, see who's here.
MassDOT Secretary of Transportation and MassDOT CEO, Derek Cravat.
Derek Cravat here representing MassDOT Secretary and CEO Gina Fiandaca.
MassDOT Highway Administrator, MassDOT District 4 staff, Tim Paris.
Yeah, Tim Paris representing, Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver.
NMCOG Chair, Andrew Deloria.
Here.
NMCOG MPO Representative, Pat Wojcik.
Here.
LRTA Board Chair, Tom Bummel. No Tom today. LRTA Representative from a community outside of the city of Lowell, Karen Pulio.
Karen Pulio here.
NMCOG Counselor and MPO Representative from the city of Lowell, Dan Rourke. And he is not here. That completes the roll.
Great. Thank you, Jessica, and welcome everybody. Move on to our next item, which is approval of the July 26, 2023 NMMPO meeting minutes. I'll ask for a motion and second to approve these minutes as presented here.
So moved.
Second.
Right. Thank you. Motion having been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions on the minutes? All right, don't see any, so go ahead and call the roll.
MassDOT Secretary of Transportation and CEO, Gina Fiandaca.
Yes.
MassDOT Highway Administrator, Jonathan Gulliver.
Yes.
NMCOG Chair, Andrew Deloria.
Yes.
NMCOG MPO Representative, Pat Wojcik.
Yes.
And then LRTA Representative from a community outside of Lowell, Karen Pulio.
Yes.
That completes the roll.
All right, thanks everyone. Move on to our next item, which is the status of transportation improvement programs under design and construction. Turn it over to Tim.
Hello. We've got here updated 613213 Bedford, Billerica, Chelmsford, Tingsboro bridge preservation of 41 bridges on the Route 3 corridor. The add date for that was pushed back about a month to March 16th of next year. 612658 Tewksbury bridge preservation, I-495 over Route 133 and over Route 38. The bids were opened July 25th, and it looks like NEL Corporation is the apparent low bidder on that one. 612656 Westford Bridge Preservation, I-495 over Concord and Boston Road. The notice to proceed was issued on 6/8/23, and the scheduled completion date is for March 24th, 2025. 612-631 Chelmsford Bridge Replacement, Gorham Street over I-495 and replacement of Westford Street over I-495. Did I say? Yeah, both of those were I-495. And the costs with the final, with the last submittal went down about $1 million each to $43 and $39 million. On page 3, 609-250, that we received 100% design submittal, and so we have slightly revised costs for that one. They went up less than $1 million each there. 610-704 Burlington Billerica resurfacing and related work on Route 3A. Again, the costs there had been revised, and they're up slightly. 609035, we have a new ad date set for that one for June 1st, 2024. 608774 Lowell Tewksbury Route 38 intersection improvements. We received the final design, and that has a slightly lower cost on the new estimate. And that was it.
Thanks, Tim. Any questions for Tim? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to next item, which is open forum opportunity for public comments. Is there anyone present that would like to address the MPO today? All right, don't see any. If you do have a public comment at any point during the meeting, feel free to raise your hand using the reactions button in the toolbar or use the chat box, and we'll be sure to call on you. We'll move on to the next item, which is the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan. Turn it over to NMCOG staff to walk us through the PTASP.
So Derek, actually, Ali from LRT
Oh,
is
Ellie.
presenting
Oh, great.
this. Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Ali.
Hi. So the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan final rule was put in place by FTA back in 2019. So the MPO has seen a few iterations of this plan. We're required to review and update it every year, and the MPO has to adopt the targets. But just to give an overview for anyone that's new or hasn't seen it, the safety plan final rule, so it requires FTA fund recipients to develop safety plans that include processes and procedures needed to implement safety management systems. And the safety management system components include a safety management policy, which includes our safety objectives, a confidential employee reporting program that's non-punitive, designating a chief safety officer, and assigning accountabilities and responsibilities for safety employees and throughout the organization. Safety risk management is another component. This includes processes for identifying hazards, and with the PTAS final rule, it really requires agencies to take a proactive approach to safety. And so, we meet regularly and think about hazards that exist out there. That, rather than being reactive, say when there's an accident or an incident, and then you make a change to policies or move a bus stop sign, it's about trying to identify those hazards before an incident occurs. Safety assurance includes the performance monitoring and measurement, and that includes the safety targets that we'll be asking the MPO to vote on today. And safety promotion includes a comprehensive safety training program, as well as communication about safety throughout the organization. It's really a top-down approach. So I think the targets are on page 5 of the plan. Those are what we're going to ask the MPO to vote on today. So from last year, the targets actually didn't change. We will review our performance each year. Yep, this page here. And take a look at how we've been performing the last few years. And we decided that these were good targets for how we've been performing and how we think we'll perform going forward. And just a note, right, I think it was either the end of June or July, FTA, they're updating their national transportation safety plan, and there'll be a requirement for some additional targets related to reducing accidents with pedestrians and mitigating assaults on transit workers. Those will incorporate when we get the guidance from FTA on how to do so. But for right now, we're required to report on fatalities, injuries, and safety events. Those will be annual totals, and then also rates per 1 million vehicle revenue miles, and then system reliability, which is miles between breakdowns. So, and we've got fixed route and demand response separated out here, which is in line with how we report to FTA through the National Transit Database. And so for fatalities, it's 0 for both modes and both for the total and rate. Our injuries total is 3 for fixed route, 1 for demand response. The injuries rate, again, per 1 million vehicle revenue miles is 2 for fixed route and 2 for demand response. The safety events total is 30 for fixed route and 4 for demand response, with the events rate being 23 for fixed route and 15 for demand response. And then the system reliability is 39,400 for fixed route and 71,700 for demand response. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them before asking the MPO to vote to adopt the targets.
Yeah. Thanks, Ally. Any questions for Ally? All right. Don't see any questions. So I guess with that, I'll ask for a motion and second to, is this just an endorsement, right, Ally? It's not a public comment period. This is just to endorse these. Yep. Okay, great. So I'll ask for a motion and second to endorse these public transportation agency safety plan targets as presented.
Derek, Jenny has a question.
Oh, Jenny. Yep. Go ahead.
The language that you just suggested in the motion was perfect.
Oh,
So,
okay.
all good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Okay. No worries. Yep. Thanks, Jenny.
So moved with the perfect language Jenny mentioned.
Thank you, Andrew. Is there a second?
I'll second that perfect language.
All right. Motion having been made and seconded. Go ahead and call the roll, Jessica.
MassDOT Secretary and CEO, Derek Cravat.
Yes.
MassDOT Highway Administrator,
Yes.
MassDOT NMCOG Chair, Andrew Deloria.
Yes. Yes.
NMCOG MPO Representative, Pat Wojcik.
Yes.
LRTA Representative from outside of Lowell, Karen Pulio.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ally, for the presentation. So
Thank you.
appreciate that. We'll move on to our next item, which is the federal fiscal year 2023 to 2027 Transportation Improvement Program, Amendment number 6. Have an MPO action here to withdraw this amendment. So I'll turn it over to, is this Shrivanti
I
or
can
Jessica?
take it. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Shrivanti. Yep. Yep.
So last month, an amendment was released since the project 608774 Lowell Tewksbury Road 38 intersection improvements project moved from federal fiscal year 2023 to federal fiscal year 2024. But I would like to request the MPO for a note to withdraw this amendment because the project is staying in federal fiscal year 2023 and there is no need for the amendment anymore.
Okay. So are there any questions? Go ahead. Yep.
No. So is it going to be a motion to withdraw? Is that what the motion would be?
I think we could do that just to get it on record that we're withdrawing this action since it was voted on to be released last time. We could do a quick roll call vote just to make sure everyone's okay with it.
Or not?
I
I just
yeah.
want to make sure from procedure perspective.
Yeah. I think that's good. The agenda says MPO action, so we'll go by that and do that. But of course, good news, I think overall that the project is staying in the current fiscal year. So that's good to hear. But are there any questions before we ask for that motion? All right. Seeing none. Andrew, do you want to make the motion?
Sure. Do you mean to jump the gun there, Derek? Apologies.
Oh, no worries. That's good.
Motion to withdraw the
Yep. Amendment 6. Yep. Thanks, Andrew.
And I'll second that.
Is there a second? All right. Thanks, Pat. Great. So go ahead and call the roll.
MassDOT Secretary, Derek Cravat.
Yes.
MassDOT Highway Administrator, Tim Parrish.
Yes.
NMCOG Chair, Andrew Deloria.
yes.
NMCOG MPO Representative, Pat Wojcik.
Yes.
LRTA Representative from outside of Lowell, Karen Pulio.
Yes.
Thank you. Please the roll.
Great. All right, thanks, everyone. Move on to the next item, which is the 2024 to 2050 Draft Long Range Transportation Plan and Vision 2050. We'll be asking for a motion to endorse this one, but I'll turn it over to NMCOG staff just to walk us through the plan.
I'll kick it off.
Great.
Thank you,
Mhm.
Chair. I just want to say, first of all, we received a great number of comments, and Kelly is going to walk us through the comments that we received and how some of them have been resolved. I will note that we could spend another 6 months working on this plan, and that would be wonderful. But I believe that we are at the point where we're ready to move forward and close this out and ask that the MPO endorse the plan with some of the modifications that we will walk through. There's a number of things from the comments that we received that would require not only additional research and data collection, which is unavailable from this agency and potentially from others that has been requested, and much deeper analysis as well as comparative analyses, which we have not conducted, but for which we should in the future in order to achieve greater transportation equity in this region. I am committed to those things as the director of this agency, and for any new person who becomes the transportation manager here, that will be part of what they're tasked with. But in the meantime, we are presenting to you a document which we recognize may have some areas where we need some improvement, and for which we hope to be able to achieve that through various UPWP studies, and then in the future, a new regional plan. So I think I'll have Kelly for now walk through these changes that have been proposed and how we also propose to reconcile them in the document. And we'll then, if it's okay, have you ask us any questions. Would that work?
Yeah, that all sounds good. Thanks,
Wonderful.
Jenny.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay, thank you, Jenny, and thank you, members of the MPO. I'm going to share my screen here. So what you see on the screen is basically a summary of our response to a summary of comments. So it's in a way a summary of a summary. This is basically a roundup of what we have heard through the public comment period, all of the public comments that we have received either through email or what we heard at the public meeting earlier this month will be incorporated into Appendix C of the plan, as well as this document. So all of these things will be incorporated into the plan. We did hear a number of themes, and I think like Jenny had mentioned, there are certain areas where we could go back and do more analysis, and we could maybe improve some of our data and analysis of certain areas of the plan. Some of these things are going to be very quickly or very soon addressed by planning initiatives that we have lined up, including these Safe Streets and Roads for All, which is a Vision Zero approach, a safety approach to planning in the greater Lowell area. So among what we heard were 3 key themes, which was like the importance of multi-use paths and development of low stress infrastructure, the importance of greater coordination between various services, and in particular with the LRTA, and the need to advance our thinking. I think this is in response to the bipartisan infrastructure law, net zero approaches to safety, thinking of prioritizing climate resilience more actively in the plan, and thinking more about electric vehicle infrastructure, those sort of approaches. And this is all work that we do have plans lined up. So we are going to be doing an EV charging study on a regional basis, as well as diving into some more specifics with some of our communities. So that will be a direct output from NMCOG in the next year or two. And again, that Safe Streets and Roads for All, the Greater Lowell Vision Zero plan is coming up. So we acknowledge that these issues should be addressed. We are actively taking some of these on, And we definitely look forward to, I think one of the things what was great about being involved in the plan at this point was that it really gives us a lot of ideas for how to improve the planning process for our next LRTP. So I think these are all things that we'll be taking in going forward, including tracking data a little bit more transparently and being able to report back to you, to the MPO, to our member communities on what projects are advanced and what's implemented as we go forward. Quick want to note there were a number of comments about formatting issues, page numbers, internal links between the table of contents, all of that sort of thing. Those minor issues have been resolved. We will also make the document available on our website in both the 2-page spread format, which is how you all saw it, as well as an individual page by page, because what we did here is that some people found that a little bit difficult to navigate. Just going to go through some of the summaries here. So first, I met with Derek this morning to talk through some of the comments on the MassDOT, some of the MassDOT comments. All of the issues on completeness and the general comments have been addressed. We have included certification documents at the beginning of the plan. And then there were a couple of items that have been redacted in MassDOT's comments. So particularly item C, IDC 10, the congestion management planning, the environmental justice issues, and several other areas have been addressed. Regarding including a narrative on changes since the 2020 LRTP, that is one of the things that I refer to when I say we want to be more data oriented going forward. So we don't have that narrative at this point. We will look to be able to have a very strong narrative regarding what is advanced as part of this Envision 2050 plan when we get to the point of updating it for the next plan. We also note that the analysis of greenhouse gas and transit was not included in this plan, and that is something that Blake Acton is here today. He's our new transit planner and will be coordinating with the LRTA. That is something we look forward to working and collaborating with the LRTA on going forward. I grouped some of these comments by who they were received from. So we received, I believe, 4 comments from members of the Middlesex Canal Commission. Mr. Jennings identified a number of minor clarifications. These have all been addressed in the plan, including updates to at-grade road crossings, railroads, route miles of track, some out-of-date information that was updated. So thank you, Mr. Jennings, for your thorough review. There were some comments from Mr. Jennings on the reliance of this document on prior plans. Some of this is a result of the pandemic. So there were certain things that were just stalled or put on hold, or there were staffing issues that did not advance certain projects. So the plan, and in particular, land use changes, the land use characteristics, we haven't seen significant change because of some of the ways that our municipalities have reacted to the pandemic and how that affected overall built form. We do anticipate changes moving forward. And so again, those will be tracked as we come back with the future plan. Mr. Jennings, like other commenters, really, and this is one of those themes that emerged, was thinking about better connecting trails and transit in the future. And so this is something, again, that I believe will be incorporated into future planning efforts, and in particular, the Greater Lowell Vision Zero plan. We've also addressed some of the comments regarding the CSX acquisition of Pan Am Railways, and we'll be working closer on freight going forward. Let's see here. I did want to follow up with this group, and maybe we could ask this question after I'm done summarizing these comments, but we are curious about the status of automatic passenger counters on LRTA buses. This is something that Mr. Jennings brought up in his comments, and we don't have an answer to that at this time. We anticipate having one soon, if not today, if that's something that can be answered, but right now the status is that is unknown. Regarding environmental justice issues, we've added a statement in the implementation section of the plan stating that prior to any projects proceeding and following a public participation process, the MPO may amend performance measures as part of project review to measure both the benefit and potential harm and or burden to environmental justice communities. Like Mr. Jennings and a number of other commenters had calls to expand performance measures. I also note that the Sierra Club mentioned this with regard to some of our climate initiatives. This really relates to I think the way that we want to work on these kind of projects going forward. And so at this point in the planning process, we didn't feel comfortable expanding those measures without bringing this back, which would have extended the timeline of the plan. But I think we can be ambitious about this in our future planning efforts. Other members of the Middlesex Canal mentioned the use of the towpath of the historic Middlesex Canal as a bike path, and that's something we will incorporate into future planning efforts. Marlies Henderson also commented on project prioritization and the goals of CO2 reduction. I think that again is one of those areas where we can definitely be more ambitious going forward. We also mentioned on 217 of the plan that the TEC should be amended to reflect future priorities. And so that's something we'll need to work with the MPO on in order to think about how we measure and grade some of our projects and how we prioritize them. And maybe there are ways that we can think about weighting more strongly things like environmental protection, sustainability, and greenhouse gas emission reduction. And again, Mr. Chandler also mentioned investment in multi-use trails. So again, this is something that will come up during the Greater Lowell Vision Zero plan. Similar to Mr. Kuttner's response. The Sierra Club made a number of comments regarding greenhouse gas emissions. We have removed the language regarding CNG. I'm sorry, the compressed natural gas. Sorry, we removed the language regarding CNG and hybrid diesels as viable alternatives from Goal 5, really emphasizing electrification of vehicles. And noting that we will work with the LRT to support its transition to decarbonize its fleet. We also, as I mentioned earlier, will be commencing a regional electric vehicle study this fall. So this is one way we can think about prioritizing decarbonization, both at a public level for municipal fleets and thinking about how we can support residents in our community in their efforts to move to electric vehicles. Mass Hire was greatly involved in the development of this plan, and they also provided an excellent comment letter, really connecting employment and transportation. So we just thank them for their comments and engagement on this plan. And finally, comment section 5, Mass Bike. Again, Mass Bike was integral in the development of this plan and provided feedback throughout the planning process. We are going to be looking into the scope of studying, identifying, and mapping bicycling routes, multi-use trail development. This is particularly going to happen as part of the SS4A plan, which will commence this fall. So we are hoping that Mass Bike will stay in touch with us as a stakeholder in this planning process. And we invite them to do that. We'll definitely be following up with them to think about the expansion of the regional trail network. At this point, I'm happy to take any questions. I think if staff have any additional comments on what was raised at the public meeting, we could also talk about that. But that's just basically a roundup of what we have heard and how we've addressed that in the plan.
Great. Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
Any questions? I think there was one in there maybe for you, Allie, about the counters.
Yes.
I don't know if you wanted to circle back to that one.
Sorry, what was the question?
The question that was raised, it was raised by Mr. Jennings, Andrew Jennings, regarding automatic passenger counts and if a successor system to route match is being planned and or if there is an anticipated date for installation of some automatic passenger count system.
So we we actually had that RFP and it expanded a little bit beyond passenger counters, again, addressing the route match part. So that's the AVA, the vehicle location system, and also the ADA annunciator system. And so we went out to bid and we've got, we made an award to a vendor. So we'll be starting that project this fiscal year.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Allie. Jenny, yeah,
Just
go ahead.
follow up for Allie. Thank you for that clarification. Once they do you anticipate the installation would go throughout the coming fiscal year then, so that the full fleet would be complete by then, or is there a different timeline?
No, we would expect that the fleet would be completely outfitted with the APCs by the end of this fiscal year, definitely. In the second half, but by the end.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Yeah, Derek Schuster.
Yeah, Ally, is that currently tip programmed line
Yes.
item for reference?
So that was one, we actually did an amendment to move the federal piece into fiscal 23 because we needed to add, actually, I think this was originally a 22 project.
I see it.
Yeah.
It's $1 million, 800,000. Okay, LRTA 011460.
Yes, and it
Ju-
was
just
it
for
was on
reference.
our it'll be on the 24 to 28 tip when that becomes active in 24.
For the state match.
Yes, yep, exactly.
So we'll be in touch with staff about that action to queue up for the fall.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Thank you, Schuster. Any other questions or comments? All right. I don't see any, so at this time I'll ask for a motion and second to endorse the 2024 Long Range Transportation Plan.
So moved and great job.
Second,
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Pat. All right, motion having been made and seconded, go ahead and call the roll.
MassDOT Secretary, Derek Leva,
Yes.
MassDOT Highway Administrator, Tim Pears,
Yes.
NMCOG Chair, Andrew Deloria,
Yes.
NMCOG MPO Representative, Pat Wojcik,
yes,
LRTA Representative from outside of Lowell, Karen Pulio.
Yes.
That completes the roll. Thank you.
Great. All right. Thanks, everyone. And yeah, great job. It's like a great document and a lot of good information in there. So great job to staff. I know it's a lot of work, and you know, I know there's a lot of staffing changes right now. So well done. And looking forward to working with you on the implementation of that plan. We'll move on to the next item, which is safe streets and roads for all. Turn it over to, is this Jessica or Jenny? Yep.
I'll introduce and
Yep,
then,
great.
yes, Jessica. We are, as you have heard many times, we have funding to do a Greater Lowell Vision Zero plan. And as part of that process, we are establishing an advisory committee who will basically be tasked with working with us over, key milestones and some reviewing and attendance at meetings, basically in that type of bigger picture role. This does not take away from whatever's happening in a local community, but it's a higher level. We're still working on the details of like all of what exactly the charter will be. And we believe that it will probably have monthly meetings for the duration of the grant, which is likely to be maybe 8 or 9 months. And so we feel that it's important to have participation of the MPO, and we have some ideas about that, which I'm going to let Jessica talk about to share a little bit more about what we're thinking and also where we're at in the process with this grant. So Jessica.
Thank you, Jenny. So as Jenny mentioned, at this point, we are in the process of scoping our project for the Greater Lowell Vision Zero plan. In the June MPO meeting, I gave an overview of our SS4A, that's the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant that we were awarded. We're now calling the plan Greater Lowell Vision Zero, and that will be a regional safety action plan. And the premise behind Vision Zero is to eliminate roadway fatalities and serious injuries from motor vehicle crashes. As part of the effort, we will be developing a Vision Zero advisory committee. The committee will work closely with NMCOG staff, also with a consultant to help support the development of the plan. They'll really be helping with the ideation, developing the concepts around the plan, then some of the implementation and potential monitoring of the action items. So we'd like to leave at least 2 seats open and available to MPO members to participate. And as Jenny mentioned, this would likely be monthly meetings in the evening that would take place on Zoom to help inform the plan, react to some of the data that we'll be hearing from the consultants, and also working closely with the community, possibly at a few public meetings as well. So at this time, I'd like to just open it up if there's anyone that's interested in participating in the advisory committee. We'd like to hear from you.
Great. Thanks, Jenny, and thanks, Jessica. Are there anyone, or is anyone interested or have any comments on that?
Jessica, I might have missed it, but is it a staff member position or is it a communities position? Forgive me.
The position could be a municipal staff person. It could also be a member of our community. We're flexible about individuals, but we did want to leave a few seats available to MPO members specifically. So if you
Right,
know
okay.
somebody in the region that would like to participate, I'd like to hear from them. But also if an MPO member is available, we'd also like to hear from them.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
So I would be interested in joining the advisory committee, as long as it's, considered some kind of conflict, us being on NMCOG, I think as Andrew might have alluded to, but if that would work, I would definitely be willing to serve.
Thank you, Pat. I'll put you down.
And if they're evening meetings, I would definitely be willing to serve. During the day would be a challenge for me.
Thank you. I'll follow up with both of you.
Great. Is that all you need, Jessica, or is there, okay, all right,
Thank
great.
you.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll move on to the next item then, which is other business. Is there any other business from MPO members or others at this time? Jenny.
Hi, I have very, very little other business other than the big business is to introduce a couple of new staff, if that would be all right with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
We have Blake Acton, who joined us, as well as Austin Torres Davis. Both of them joined us last Monday. Blake is the new Regional Transit Planner 2, and Austin is Transportation Planner 2. And I will let them individually introduce themselves, if that would be all right. They can tell us a little bit more about themselves. I would love for all of you to get to know them. So I'll do Blake first and then Austin. Thanks.
Great.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Blake Acton, and this is my second week as the new regional transit planner at NMCOG. Prior to my role here, I served as a transit analyst at the Boston Region NPO at CTPS. So there are some familiar faces in here. And I'm excited to be here for the opportunity to support transit planning efforts at the NPO in Greater Lowell, and to support our partners at LRTA to provide the best possible transit for the region that we can.
Awesome. Thanks, Blake. Yeah, good to see you, and congrats on the the new role.
Thank you.
Austin.
Sure, I'll jump in here. Austin Torres Davis. It's great to be here. I am the new transportation planner 2. It's great to be here. I believe I've already met Pat and shared some emails with Derek here. Prior to joining Northern Middlesex, I was a planner in Portland, Maine. So in that position, I tried to get my hands on as many transportation projects as possible. So it's great to have moved sort of from the municipal government side of things to regional, and I'm looking forward to working with you all. I'm glad to be here.
Great, welcome. Thanks, Austin.
And Derek, with our various hellos and welcomes, we do have one goodbye and thank you, which is to Shrivanti, this is her last meeting with us. We are so sad to lose her, but we are also extremely excited for her as she joins the Boston MPO. And I want to say personally thank you to Shrivanti for everything she's done at the agency since she started with us last June. And it's just been wonderful to work with her. She was really integral part of the process, developing Envision 2050, working on TIP, working on a variety of other local planning projects. And she's just a tremendous asset here, and we will miss her. And I'm certain she'll be a tremendous asset to the greater Boston region. So thank you to Shrivanti, and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Jenny. And thank you so much, everyone. And it's been great working with all of you. Thank you so much. And I hope to stay in touch. I'm not going too far. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Shrivanti. Yep, and congratulations. Yeah, well, I'm sure see you plenty still. So, you know,
Right.
like you said,
Thank you
not
so
going far.
much.
So yeah, thank you. And yeah, great job on your time at NMCOG. I had one item I just wanted to share. I'll put a link here in the chat. Our Safe Routes to School Infrastructure and Signs and Lines grants just launched today. It's a competitive solicitation for signs and lines are kind of quick build projects, $10,000 or less in the vicinity of school zones, and infrastructure grants are a bit larger. So the deadline is Friday, October 6th. So definitely encourage folks to pass along, spread the word, share with you know, any folks within your municipality or share with municipalities. We're looking to get a nice competitive pool of applications for both of those. So just wanted to plug that. Is there any other business? All right, don't see any. Our next meeting date is going to be tentatively Wednesday, September 27th at 2 p.m. Don't know if we have anything out for public comment right now, so we'll let folks know if there's anything, or you know, if we can cancel that. It's potential to cancel if we don't have any actions, but we'll be in touch ahead of that to let everyone know. And with that, I think we can do adjournment by a voice vote. So I'll ask for a motion and second to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? All right, without objection, we're adjourned. So thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time, but have a great rest of the summer.
Thank you.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thank you.